Benny's missing, so that's good. Can I get a motion for approval of the minutes for August the 4th? Nick, Ben, second.
All in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Aye.
So we need a motion for the joint meeting, huh? Everybody but Ben was there for that, so
I was out of town.
I need a motion for that.
Motion, seconded.
Mandy, Dick second. All in favor? Aye. You can abstain,
I like to vote, okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Oral communications. All right, we got Rebecca. You want to address this?
Well, I just received the notice about the fee increases in the mail from the city because of the business card holder, and I thought that was excellent. Let's let everybody know what's going on. I play with the 90s and Tuesdays, and I use my own private card. And number one, I want to let you know, I just got a new club card, and club card now has our golf course printed, mapped, so it's on my computer screen, just like if I went to a private course.
Wow.
So anyone's buying a new card, buy a club card, because you can get that, and it's great. Even says how far you are from the sandboxes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. You come out on Tuesday, Mandy, you can see you.
I will.
Yeah, yeah,
To show me.
probably right, yeah. I showed Benny and the other guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. I have no problem with the fee increases. My husband and I have said it's been the best deal going for a long time, and it's been,
Yeah, it's hard to beat it.
it's hard to beat. We have no problem with it. The only question I do have is the fee for the private car person, that before my passenger did not have to pay, because I'm maintaining the car, all that expense is going to me. And a lot of times it's my husband or a child that is a relative is paying. So I don't I would like to see that lowered a little bit or just alleviated, as I am putting up all the expense for maintaining my card as it goes there. And it's one more card if you don't have to buy.
I'm not aware that that's,
I thought I saw that
Structured
in
that
there.
way.
Look at this, any
So,
change.
she's in reference to, and
The
just,
trail fee.
sorry, for record of the minutes, this is specific to an item, this is not under oral communications, this is you now hearing item 4B under new business. I just have to reflect that for the minutes.
so that's down the road.
Yeah, so
It's down in section 7 of
you
the
can talk about this
trail.
now for the committee, but this is specific to an item on the agenda. This would not be considered oral.
So then let's, should we wait till we get to that part?
Might want to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll wait
That's
till we
fine.
get there.
Sorry.
That was my only comment.
I don't mean to be the,
No, I think the language here we have to look at.
we can get there. That's section 7.
I skimmed through it and I didn't realize it, but.
It's in section 7 of the
Structured
All right.
that
So
way.
you're on oral communications,
Well, we'll
this
get it
is
that way.
anything that the public has not specific to something on the agenda. Are there any speaker cards for something not on the agenda?
Anything else, Rebecca?
No, just that the court, as we all know, the course is doing wonderful, and we really appreciate on Tuesdays having a marshal out there now. It's really helped us with getting our early players, so to speak, to move along.
In me?
No. You're after me.
No, but it's good.
Yeah, and they've been very courteous, and when I've played other days and they've come around, you know, they've been really good. I think it's been very good.
You're on, you're on 3.
I do have one other thing, and Mandy can probably knows about that. I know I'm out of time with whatever your schedule is, but all the 9Ts want to know, when are we actually getting silver tees? That are tee boxes that look like tee boxes, and not sometimes down the hill and sometimes up the hill. Number 6 is really fun with that. I noticed on your report over there that you're going to redo number 12. But there's some of the other ones that the mowers just put them and keep things down. Sometimes they're right up against each other, and it can be down in a hole. And there's no real tee box yet. So that's an inquiry from the 90s in general.
Okay.
Now I'm done.
All right, old business.
Is there anyone else that I think?
Yeah, I got a couple things I'd like to say.
Oh, you
Sorry,
can
I-
fill out a card.
Hang on one second. I have to make sure that we're not interacting with members of the public. That's gonna be a big no-no. So we can hear from the public, but the committee doesn't get to respond or engage with that comment. You could choose to later address it, but
It
we
has to
can't
be
do
on the
that.
agenda.
Yeah, and if you have something not on the agenda, you're absolutely welcome to submit a speaker card, and that would fit under item 2, which is where we're at right now. So if you want to, you can go ahead and do that now.
So maybe sure I understand that. So in order, if it's on the agenda, we're talking about the golf course and all this stuff.
So, yeah, if you're talking, the only thing here tonight that we're really talking about is the golf course fees. So if you want to talk about golf course fees, you would want to fill out a speaker card, and you'd want to list item 4B as the item you're interested in
So the card's for that,
speaking.
not for any general business.
Correct. Any other general business, questions about anything, that would fall under oral communications, and that's number 2, and you could fill out a card for that. So if you have something else, if you,
Okay, yeah, I had to do this once before with City of Mission Viejo, so I wanted to see how it competes. I don't want to say, but in case I see something, I want to say
Where do
something.
I submit this?
you can give it to Rick. Sorry, I don't mean to be,
All right.
I have to be the.
We had a big
First time, hopefully it's the last time you see me.
I know, I'm sorry, okay. So, is this for item 2?
It's under oral, but it's
Perfect.
under resident cards, so that's later on.
Yes, if it's regarding the fees of the resident cards, then yes.
Nothing to do with the fees of the resident.
Okay, then you're gonna be under, you can go ahead, since we're still on item 2,
Yep.
go ahead and you can come up and go now
Okay.
at the podium. Sorry, and I'm gonna give you 3 minutes on the clock and it'll go off.
I'm on the clock. Okay. Samantha, I know that you're in a tough spot here. I was just wondering, have you ever woken up at 6 in the morning to get a tea time?
I
Yes.
can't speak to that.
Yes.
Oh, so I talked to these guys. Well, these guys have all done that.
You're speaking to the committee.
So I'm
yeah.
gonna speak to them, but I'm gonna actually speak to you, so I don't know how you
It'll
you
go
wanna take
through us,
that.
but yes.
So, I think there's a big problem, and the big problem is there are a lot of non-residents that are residents. And I think you guys have all experienced that on a 8 days in advance, I have roughly then a half a second to get a tea time. And then if I don't get that, I'm at 10 o'clock, don't get that, I'm at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, all within a second and a half. Okay, so look at, I know this, I've been around for quite a while here. As some of you know, I've represented the club all over the world to play, but I've found out that it's absolutely impossible to try to get tea time, let alone, I think what's very important here is Rick is in San Juan Capistrano and John is in San Clemente. Rick loves to play the Muni, John doesn't play golf at all. Rick now influences me to go up and get a resident card and give him the username and password. Now all of a sudden Rick is a resident of San Clemente. That's how easy it is to get a tea time. So I would love to ask the question, prior to the pandemic, how many resident cards were sold? And since the pandemic, how many residence cards have sold? Because I'll tell you right now, I think it's astronomical. So now, if you're even a non-resident, it's almost absolutely impossible to get a tea time when you want to know. Now, let's relate this to the tea time, or the increase in price, which I got no problem with, right? Is if you are able to control your resident cards and really get residents to be the guys that are in charge of that card, you're gonna have more non-residents that are gonna be able to get tea times, and you're gonna make more money on those tea times, which actually could take care of your loss, if you're considering the loss in the increased price. You're gonna make more margin and more money on non-resident tea times. I'm just trying to make it as easy as possible for a resident. I've been here since 1967. It's almost impossible to get a tea time. And I know for sure that there are people that get tea times and they're non-residents, but they have resident access 8 days in advance. How do you police that? That's how you guys are gonna do it. So that's all I wanted to come and talk about is, look, I'm in love with the golf course. I've been here my whole entire life. I just think it's absolutely crazy that it takes at least a second to try to get a tee time 8 days in advance. And and that's just for me trying to get a Saturday for a Sunday time. It's just as bad as when you're a Tuesday, Thursday, Friday time. That's my time, I'm on the clock. Thank you.
Nice job. I wasn't aware of that situation with the residents. Anybody else run across that? Well, I know they're
I'm sorry,
not as
didn't hear
fast
that,
as
Nick,
John
what'd you
says,
say?
because I get up Thursday
What'd
morning.
you say?
Or Friday. What's that?
I didn't hear Nick's comment.
I can get a tea time, on Sunday, almost every Sunday, I get it wherever, pretty close to the time.
I can't get a tea time on Saturday.
So if I can make a recommendation, because I think this is absolutely valid, I want to look into it, and I know that there's bad apples who seem to manage to find ways to get around our system, and I want to plug those holes. So if I can work with the House Subcommittee over the next couple of weeks and our software company and our pro shop staff to find out if there's a better way or a secure way to manage that, because I am concerned that I completely hear what you're saying, and I think that's taking away from the benefit of being a resident.
So in the past, you went up with an electric bill or something like that?
Correct.
And with your ID, and that's how we got, so just to get a resident card showing some type of residency, and then when you come up for your tea time, I'm the guy that got the tea time, here it is.
Yeah, I'm concerned that our control mechanisms that we have had in place and should have in place are not being followed. This is standard at the aquatic center, if you rent a field, this is a city of San Clemente policy. So let me work with the House Subcommittee and the pro shop staff to kind of do a little audit of how we're managing resident cards, if that's okay?
Please do. Thank you, man.
You bet.
Yeah, I might recommend reaching out to people, like, for instance, Torrey Pines, right?
Mhm.
Resident cards are like gold down there
Yeah.
because the difference in the rate is
Yeah.
so significant. But they have a way to stop it from, being out of control.
Right.
It's possible to make tea times there too, that's another story. But they have a lot of mechanisms in place, and there's a lot of penalties for people who hand their resident card and aren't
Agreed.
there. And the person who makes the tea time has got to be there as part of the group and show their ID. You can't check in
Right.
without that. So highly recommend looking at, and they use, I think, a system called ID Me, or ID.me or something like that, which allows you to have, when you're trying to renew your card and everything, you have to go through that system, and it's hooked up to a database, and it knows everybody's, address, and you have to show the proper identification. Say someone like Vinny having to do it, or
Right.
Pro Shop having to police that, it polices itself with that company, and I'm sure they offer services.
Did you know Dave and Vinny and Cole know everybody who comes to that desk on Saturday
Absolutely.
morning at 7:00? So they know who is out of town, who's not, really.
Right.
So it should be easy to find out, do a little investigation.
Yeah.
Randy,
Yes.
take a road trip down to Torrey Pines?
Been
Talk to
there.
your staff.
Only if you
I'm
get
serious.
the tea time.
Reach out to
Yeah,
their-
tea time.
reach out to their
They are
staff.
unique.
Lucky not a paying.
If I may, they're unique.
I'd pay like $300.
Expensive.
Like that.
But I definitely think they have a system that prohibits that, because,
Yeah,
It's called
we'll
a
look into
90-day
that.
booking fee.
well, they
Yeah.
have
A
that as
$90
well.
booking fee, I'm
They
sorry.
have a 90-day booking,
Dollar.
booking fee. It's $30 for 90 days in advance down there.
I thought it was the other way around, because we paid $90 to book, and that was not applied to the green fees, that's it. So you can get to the course, you pay $90, and then you pay for your green fees, and then you pay for your card.
Yeah, so it's an advanced booking time, but you can still try to book 7 days in advance.
Yeah, it's not applicable to anything else. That's the problem.
No, 4UP will link to it to allow you to have gotten clearance through that system, and then it links into the 4UP so that you can buy your resident pass. So you have an account with a name associated with 4UP, which links you to an account, a name, and your ID system, and then they link together. So it all interfaces.
Yeah, I've
with
looked into it, and I'll have to dig into it further.
I know you and I talked about it
Yeah.
a couple of years ago.
I've got a question. When you do that, you have your credit card on file. My credit card, I'm not gonna let somebody else use my credit card to get a tea time. Even if I let them know
Not
my
for you,
resident.
not for your buddies?
Yeah,
Most people, that's probably the case.
yeah, how are they getting away, because that would be
Well,
a
actually,
check.
if they're
Yeah.
using the residence card, the residence card's linked to the credit card in the
Yeah.
system. Because the residence card's in the system now, it's not a residence card anymore.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So that's,
It's not a card.
you go up there to pay, that credit card as a resident is being billed.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, how is that?
It's not built to play.
It's not built till you play and you can use a
You don't,
different card.
you're not billed until you play.
Play, just.
So like if I go up to
Right.
play,
Oh,
he
okay.
goes, you want to keep the same card? I go, "Yeah," or I'd say, no, I want you to charge this card or
So
whatever.
that's how
So
to do it, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
The key is making sure that the person, the resident who made the tee time.
Correct.
Is part of the group.
Right.
And if they're not, then that's where you have an issue. That
And
they
Nick,
should
I'd
not
love to
count
know
as
how
expenses.
you get to tea time so fast. There must be a trick.
You have to be quick.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
telling you,
it's-
it's frustrating.
Well, I'll be honest with you, there's some guys that have own companies and they have IT guys.
Yeah, we always
They
thought
don't
somebody-
even have to get up.
Somebody had a
They
bot.
have the computer does it for them. Good for them. They got a system and,
Yeah,
you know, good for him. But I mean, that's who we're battling against.
6
you know.
o'clock and 5:59.
It's
I'm
quick.
up there
It's
poking
a
at-
half second.
poking at screens.
Yeah.
I do it on Sunday morning for Monday.
Day of the week makes a difference too. Honestly.
Yeah.
Demand is higher.
Yeah.
All right, we're totally doing everything you told us not to.
I know you are. I just,
Brock,
I said my
Hi.
thing,
you
so.
got a comment on,
I'm not accountable.
the item for
Well,
the,
yeah, see, my grandparents moved here in 45. My parents moved down here in 79, so basically had a place down here since 79. But I'm not really the resident. I'm the owner, but I have a renter.
Have to be domiciled.
It's my domicile, but she's renting.
No, you live there.
I live in Mission Viejo.
Yeah, so you have to live.
See, that, but that, I've been a resident card for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, that was,
That's, I mean, I'm exposing myself here.
that was a
Sorry.
rule we made a
But,
long
you know,
time ago.
Yeah,
You
it's
have
a
to be
current
domiciled.
residence.
You have to actually live there.
No, I understand, but that, you know, like I say, I've been paying at the resident rate, which I paid for, it's $60 still a year. And the problem is, I agree with him, that it's a nightmare in the morning, but here's the scary, here's the funky part. I come down, go in today, talk to him about things, or go and see in the office, there's nobody out there. I'm there at 1, I'm there at close to the tea time I want. Because what they're doing, they're calling in and they're reserving, like you said, with a computer, they're not showing up, and they're not penalized for that. They just don't show up. So the course is wide open, not making any money.
Yeah, we've noticed that too.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. To me, that's the biggest one. If you're gonna do it, there has to be a penalty. If you book it, you gotta be there. Or you get penalized. If your card's on file, it's easy.
They should be,
It
they
should
should
be
be charged the
penalized.
card
They are
on
charged.
You
file.
should be charged to the
They
card.
do,
Boy, there's a lot of
You're
empty
charged
time
till
out
you
there.
show up.
they,
Right, you're
they-
not charged till you show up.
Well,
Your card is charged, but
it's true, but the booking is not. That's the whole problem.
well, yeah, that's.
There are
kinda hard
no-show
to deal
fees,
with.
It is hard to do.
They don't know when they're not gonna show.
we charge them a no-show. They
Yeah,
pay
If
for
they don't
it.
show, there's
And I
a
know,
charge.
I
They
can
should.
see on the
They are
system.
charged.
Unless they have a
Charge to the card
replacement.
that's
But when
already-
my partner, when I used to play down here, when we played, Torrey Pines, thanks, man. We played down it, it was $90 for him to be able to get to the course, be on the course at that day. $90, non-refundable, not applied to the green fees. That's it, $90. Now you can come to Torrey Pines. Then they charge you for the green fees. Then they charge you for the card. And after a while, they charge you for everything else that you drop in. But it was a good course, a beautiful place. I'd still do it again. The key was, if they charge the 90, you don't show up, you lose the 90. Okay? But if you do show up, it should be applied to the green fees. That's just amicable, all the way around. And that takes it off there, that's great. I do that every day. I do it forever. But when you just don't, that's it, $90 gone. You didn't, there's nothing for the 90 because you got to pay for the green fees 100%, you got to pay for the card. So that might be an option. I mean, I love it down here. So I'd like to see it, I'd like to see people out there if they're going to book, I'd like to see them on the course. Because I could have been there, and I've been at 5:59 in the morning, and I get the 8 day, because it's a resident, I've been in 8 day, and I still have to fire like a duck on, robot to get it fast. So that's what I have for you, it's a great course. I love this town, I love that course. But it's impossible to get on. And Short Cliff actually is picking up the money. So everybody can get on there. They're really, Berkeley, that's just the only thing I see, because Dave's got a great course, it's a great place. Thank you.
Thanks for your input.
Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, let's get into item 3, old business. How are we doing on that urban forest management?
Figuring out the
What's
job.
going on?
Our tree replacement program?
Yes.
Yeah, we are looking at replacing trees that are dying, like some of the stone pines, and there's no echo pine. We replaced one behind One Green, Mexican fan palm. During our tour today, I showed Dick and Ben, the she oaks that I wanna start planting around the course. I think they're a good fit for our climate and our water source too, and that has to be a factor because we have very poor water. Our recycled water is really hard on pine trees, and the she oaks seem to withstand that, so, yeah. This winter, we're thinking about planting some, maybe start off with like 6 or 8, see how they do, and then just keep kind of moving forward with that. We're looking at, you know, areas like number 1, so we lost a couple of trees between 1 and 10. 1 and 10, maybe 7, we got another dead one.
What's the gallon size you're thinking about?
Well, the thing is, they're hard to find, so I'll have to phone my contact again at the nursery, or maybe check out Moon Valley. But we have a bunch of like little saplings by the tennis court on number 6.
Oh, yeah.
To the top of the hill to the left. So with some research, I might be able to transplant from there. Get creative, save some money, and see how that goes.
Now, originally, we put those in to protect the houses coming off the tee.
Yeah, they're just little saplings that have branched off from like the full like 30-foot trees. They're just kind of like, they have little runners and little,
Oh,
yeah, little trees shoot up, and they're probably like 3 or 4 feet.
so grab a few of those.
Yeah, yeah, make sure they don't die in the process, so that'll take a little bit of research, but some experiment that I would enjoy taking on, so.
And I noticed that on, between 7 and 8, we've lost some trees, and there's quite often when you're on 7, the people teeing off from 8 are coming right across. Any thoughts of putting some more trees between them?
Yeah, you definitely could. Closer to, like if you're going up 7, like when the car path cuts in front, maybe like up in there a little bit for protection, yeah. You do that. And we did plant one at the bottom to replace that cottonwood that died about a year ago, so.
What's with those 2 weird pine trees between 7 and 8? Are they dying, or did you just think it was like really cool?
Pine
The ones that
trees.
have the really nasty
Oh,
leaves
yeah.
on them?
I mean,
Right around the
up
200
hill to
yard
the
mark
green
on
side.
seven.
Those stone pines?
Going up the hill to
Yeah.
the green on 7?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
we trimmed them.
Peak it.
They were trimmed, chips, It's just been trimmed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they feel good.
They
You're not losing golf balls in them anymore.
Yeah.
It took a lot
If
of.
you hit a golf ball in there, you hook one in there and it'd be lost, so. It's not fun, taking a lost ball for just hitting a tree. Anything else?
Nothing else on the tree?
Would old business with the work plan fall under that? Was that new business last time?
Yeah, so
Got
anything
approved
not
by
listed on the agenda, we shouldn't be discussing, really. So the trees discussion, that certainly, if this committee wants to see reoccurring items on old business, we can, happy to agendize that. The work plan that was approved, so I think I circulated that to this group, that was approved by council, and that's what we'll guide ourselves off of.
So who do we have under this, that you've got individually, member of the Beaches and Parks Rec? It's gonna be on this management, urban forest management deal? Do we have somebody in mind for that?
So the
Maybe coordinating with Jordan?
Yeah, the tree management policy for the city is currently underway through Public Works with, and they've hired a consultant, and there's going to be 2 public outreach workshops in December. And when they're looking at that, they're looking at citywide tree management, from parks to medians to residential areas that are city-owned trees. I have a draft policy that I would be looking to review with the Green Subcommittee to understand if we want to fold the golf course into that policy, or if the golf course should have its own standalone policy. Currently, the golf course is managed under the existing citywide tree policy, and that's been practiced for a long time. Now, whether or not it's looked at as we manage our trees, it's a little different on the golf course. But I would say that our best option right now, because I think the golf course needs to be looked at uniquely potentially, is the Green Subcommittee, and I just got a draft of their report. We can look at that in the next couple of weeks. And then the subcommittee can decide if it's something that the golf course can fold into or if we need to branch off on our own,
Good.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that? Kind of comment on this side? I'm just curious, since you said the tree-wide maintenance policy is shared amongst the golf course and the city, right?
Mhm.
Does the revenue from the golf course go into a pool for the city fund for all the trees, or is it standalone for
No.
those procurements only at the golf course?
Yeah, so when we talk policy, we're not talking about any dollar figures or budget. The
Okay, I was
pol-
just-
Yeah, the policy is really a guiding document on how we manage the trees, not the budget assigned to purchasing trees, maintenance of trees. It's completely separate. The golf course.
Consultant fees too?
Sorry, say that again?
You said a consultant might look at something?
So there was a consultant hired through the Public Works Department to look at the citywide tree policy.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the golf course doesn't spend any of their revenue on
that's correct.
Okay.
We're not a part of that fee.
it? Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I think that's it for the old business. Let's move on to the new business, which, first thing on the agenda is a resolution amending the regular meeting location, which you all know is gonna be at the new City Hall digs, the council chambers, and I don't think there's much discussion there. They're gonna move us, so I'm entertaining a motion that we accept that, go from that.
I second the
Who's first?
So he's gonna make the
motion.
motion.
I'll make the motion, sorry.
Mandy will make it. Nichols second it. All in favor? All right. Everybody, has anybody been there besides me? And-
I went there once,
Neither
I've
has
been
been.
into the mall complex, been in the building a few times.
No, well, yeah, it's up on the second floor, it's really nice too. Okay, the next one, our discussion last time was on structuring new fees, and I was reading over the agenda and the fee structure, and everything seems very reasonable, 10% rounded to the nearest dollar. And any discussion on that?
Yeah, I'll bring up the discussion that was brought forth about the language in here that talks about the trail fee
Mhm.
per rider
Mhm.
rather than per cart.
So this is section 7 of the resolution, correct?
Correct, second paragraph.
Okay. So this is just rollover language from the current resolution. If there's a want from the committee to change that, staff have no issue with that. I just need direction from the committee on how you want that to read.
Well, my question is, what were we doing up to now? Were we charging?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it.
It's a flat trail
Supposed to
fee
be
per
charging
cart.
is the thing.
Well, no, they're charging a flat trail fee per
Fee
cart.
per-
It's
per
$8,
cart.
$8 for
Yes.
per cart, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you have one or two riders in it.
Right.
The way this reads, I can see how it could be a little bit confusing,
Mhm.
that it would look like it would be per person. So you could easily change that by putting a trail fee per cart. What
And
we
it,
do.
it seems like, given the language, this does give the pro shop the opportunity to do it at their own discretion. So it sounds like Dave Cook has just said it's actually gonna be per cart, which is fine, it's in there, but if, for this specificity, we can change it from per rider to per cart, if the committee wants that.
I'd like to make a motion that we change it to per cart.
I'll second it.
Well, I think somebody who doesn't have a cart should be making the motion.
I'll make the motion, change it.
And seconded by people who do not have a cart, or have a
To the-
vested interest.
Well, that's only,
That'll be me then. My only question is, if this is what it was before, and we weren't charging per rider, or were we leaving it to Dave's discretion? That's my question. What
We were
were
supposed to be
doing?
charging per rider.
You're charging both.
Yeah, you're supposed to be charging per rider, but again, as the language is, it says, or as determined by the pro shop concessionaire. So
Oh.
that gives whoever the concessionaire is, it gives them the authority to change that.
And the money that comes from the car, this fee, is that goes through the the city, or does it go to Dave?
Yeah, so there's a split in that. It's based on the pro shop's contract.
City gets a percentage of the golf.
Yeah, so it's a
I see.
percentage, so this,
So-
yes.
So I would say that we should leave it as is, because if Dave has been he's been overriding he has the option.
Correct,
Because it's his money too.
correct.
So I would suggest we leave it as it is and nothing should change.
So just to clarify, Nick, you go to or Rick, you go with your cart, and you pay $8 to Dave for a trail fee. You drive your cart each round. You don't pay for somebody riding with you. So that'd be really hard to, how do you say, oh, nobody's riding with me, Dick.
Well, it's the same way people bring a cart and then someone's walking and they
Yeah.
jump on. I
They
see
jump
it all
on,
the
yeah,
time.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I know.
There are non-standard carts out there that will seat 4.
And some of the newer carts, the.
My cart seats 4, but there's no way anybody's gonna get in there.
So what are you gonna do about
Would you have a
a
horse?
private cart that's paying $8 and 3 other riders?
If you have 4, you don't have room for clubs.
it's
Right,
pretty
these are big-
rare
these are big carts.
situation.
These
So
are
there are
very big.
non-standard
Yet to
carts out
see
there.
anybody
that
pretty-
will
have
have
4 people on
4
their cart.
It's a point
seats
well made,
and
but
room for plugs.
So, are we proposing then that we change the fee, for a trail fee to $10? Is that what we're saying, from 8 to 10? Is that correct?
No,
The trail
No, no
fee
change.
is 200, now it's gone to 220.
Yeah,
Well, that's
there's
the
no
That's to
change.
register your
fee.
car.
There's
So
no
the
change.
trail fee is determined by the pro shop concessionaire, so that's determined by Dave.
So it's saying will be one half of
So
the
the
car.
220 is just to register your car.
That's
Annual
correct,
registration.
that's the private
Right.
cart registration.
Yeah.
You should probably include your rider fee, so it's just the additional.
No, there's no rider fees. There's
For
just to
additional
register
person?
your car,
Says per additional
$220.
person.
And then you have to pay.
It says per additional person, 50%. That's what it said.
But That's
trail
different
fee
than
This is
the
a
annual
trail fee,
registration.
the annual
registered.
fee is $220. This is a trail fee is to put your cart on the golf course.
Right.
Every time
Every
you,
time you
every
play.
time you use
$8.
it, every time you play.
Which is $8.
Correct.
So
So there's no change to that.
why don't we change it to $10 and no charge for riders?
Says the guy without a cart.
Yeah.
So I have to, the way this is written is we're not managing the trail fee, that's not on the city, that's managed by Dave Cook.
Okay.
So right now, what we do have the option, we could say, instead of it being 50% of the cart rental fee, we could say the trail fee is $10 per rider. We have the right to say that.
Is this busted? Why are we fixing it?
Well, yeah, and we're not increasing the cost of the carts in this increase. So it would remain at $8, the cart,
Yeah.
Correct.
there's no change. So I don't think we should
Do
touch
we
it.
want the
It's not busted.
pro shop concessionaire to be determining whether a rider is charged or not?
Well, and that's
Is that
something
we
you
wanna put in their
could
hands?
manipulate as well, is take out that component.
Or just leave it the way it is and let Dave do his thing?
Exactly.
Yes.
And then what happens when
That's your other
Dave disappears and someone else takes over and then they see it as a revenue opportunity?
Well,
and it costs-
that's something that we can review. He's got a 5-year contract, so
Right.
we
That
can
could
review
happen
that
at any time
each
in the
year.
year.
Whenever we're doing a price increase, we can review that sentence. But if it's not broken, and that's what Dave's doing now with these words, why would have nothing to change?
As long as we'll leave it in his hands, that's my only concern.
He's doing good so far.
I don't have a problem leaving it in Dave's hands.
Leave as is, leave as is. Nick?
I'm good. Leave it as it
But
is.
again, you guys have a vested interest. You should,
A little conflict of interest on
it's a
that, yeah.
conflict
I
of
can't
interest.
help that.
Well, I'm just saying,
That's why the three of us think.
I'm serious.
Well,
Yeah,
yes,
you're right, if you have a personal gain from it, you should abstain
You
from
have
the
to abstain.
conversation.
So I don't have a
Okay.
personal gain, and I would say leave it as is.
And I second that.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Not allowed.
No, I'm talking to her.
Aye.
Aye. There you go. 2-0.
You
3 abstentions.
excluded Ben.
No, they're both abstained. Oh, do you have a
don't
card?
your car.
I do not have a personal
Well, that's
card.
not
Oh, I think you
personal,
have a
right?
card too.
But no, I will say nay, but I get outvoted, so it's okay. I think it should be, I feel like we should be locking it in, but that's okay.
Let's back it up again. Okay, what is it you want to do?
I want to lock it in as how it is, instead of, I worry that in the future someone would come in and adjust it to their personal gain and from a pro shop perspective, at the cost of people who ride along.
So what do you want it to be then?
Just per cart instead of per rider. And it's 50% of the cart rental fee.
So $10?
No, I don't want to say $10, I want to say one half the 50%.
So whatever it is.
So if they raise their rates on carts, then this goes with it, that's fine. That's fair. If they make it $20, then it gets moved up to 10. If they make, for some reason they decide to do $30 a cart, this would go to 15. So it stays, it fluctuates, it moves with that. I don't want to lock in a value, you know, like that. I
That's
don't
the
think.
current practice, is they're charging per cart, not per rider.
Correct, so this just
Yeah.
keeps the current practice in place and makes sure that
So
it doesn't.
trail fee per cart rather than per rider.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
We specify it's per cart rather than per rider.
Are you okay with that?
Dave tomorrow, and I'm not saying he will, but he has the capability to turn it to $16.
Well, It's only
if
changing
people
to
ride.
$2.
Well, but to me,
Why are we going to
Dave has
$10?
there's a
I do not wanna
value
lock in
in
the
Dave.
value, because then we have to
Isn't
amend it
just
later.
the golf course. And he's making decisions based on this. We're giving him some leeway to make decisions. So he's making a decision for the regulars perhaps, that he doesn't charge a fee, but maybe somebody different, he is charging a fee. It's an open option for him, because there's money in it for him too.
Yeah, but shouldn't he, that again, you make a good point. He now has the ability to say, I won't charge you guys this two, but I don't like you two, so I'm gonna charge both of you. I mean, that again becomes,
Arbitrary, yeah.
it's,
So I think Ben's recommendation is to leave the language at 50% of the cart fee, and that can accommodate any increase or decrease in the cart fee on the pro shop's end, and that's their discretion, because that's their management. What it does is takes away the option for them to change this language, so it ensures that no matter what their rate is, they're charging 50% of the cart fee, or the trail fee is 50% per cart, not per rider, as it's written today.
But then you have to take out the part about
Correct.
per rider.
Right.
Yeah,
you
so
just change
you,
it to per cart. Change the word rider to cart.
to cart,
Yeah.
and take out or as determined by pro shop concession.
Yep.
Because then it stops, again, it makes it fair and consistent across the board.
Okay, so would you amend your motion then?
That was my original motion, was to change it from the wording from per rider to
Cart.
cart. Per cart, that was what I mentioned.
At 50% of the cart rental?
I didn't want to touch that, that stays exactly how it
Okay,
is.
all right.
Do you want to take out the last portion of that? At-
Which is
At
what?
under concessionaire's
Or is
discretion?
determined by. So is the cart, does that make any reference though to the cart rental fee being determined by the pro shop concessionaire, the way that reads?
No, that's 100% in his agreement, that's separate from this. His cart fee is gonna be,
Whatever,
Correct.
that's, so cart fee is a set term.
That's
It's
on
defi-
his-
That's a defined
that's
term
in
in his
his
contract.
agreement, correct.
Okay, yeah, then you can get in, yeah, at per cart, or you can get rid of after the comma, or is determined by pro shop concessionaire.
It's just a cart fee.
So you would just be, the trail fee will be one half of a cart rental fee in effect at time per cart. And then you remove the comma or as determined by the pro shop, all that language after that. Yep.
It's all taken out, right?
So I will amend my motion as we.
Okay, I'll second that motion, that amended motion. Call for the question?
And
So we have to all,
You need to all vote on this now at this point.
okay, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And that's approving, we're approving everything else according to the new rates, right?
No, that's
That's
just
just in the
specific to
cart.
this section. Okay.
So did everybody get a chance to look at the adjustments on the rates? And how do we need a discussion on that?
It's not for me.
All right, I need a motion then.
the motion will go forward with what makes.
Second. hear if there's any, people have any questions about 4B.
Yeah, were there any other comment cards on 4B on the rates?
Nope,
Yep.
Oh, he has his.
Jeff.
oh, didn't see it.
Figured on here.
Ninety behind the TV.
Wait, wrong
You
one?
got time, Miley?
Want to raise it higher? A little bit.
Okay. Jeff, this is on expenditures in the budget, go ahead.
Good evening, my name is Jeff. I've lived in San Clemente Manor since '06. Joined the men's club probably in '17 when I moved back down from the Bay Area, and I've been probably playing once a month or a couple times a month for the last 5 years, and been really enjoying the course and the maintenance on it. And I've actually worked at a golf course, I've worked at Dodger Stadium, and I've worked for the city, so I have a lot of experience in a broad spectrum of areas. And I'm a little concerned because it feels like that there's so much play that the revenue should be plentiful. And then I've been in communication with the city and Samantha and a couple other people to try to identify where expenditures are going in order to kind of assess, is there ways to modify how we do contracts or use the general fund or use capital reserves or whatever is available in the entire budget book for the golf course to allow for a better experience or enhance the course has been kind of my main goal, is understanding where those expenditures are going. So, you know, not being able to comprehensively review everything in the last 6 months to a year, I've been trying to get a few dollars to understand why there's reactions on legal matters like a house getting hit, or maybe we're almost topped off on our operation costs. We're going to increase it 10%. Just trying to understand how those decisions are made. I see in the agenda that staff reviewed and wants to bring to the committee an increase potential. And I look around, I played golf courses from San Diego to Marin County, all along the California coast, and up and down. And I see fees a lot higher, so I'm very thankful that fees are where they're at and the increase is not significant. However, I do see an opportunity for a more, to ask the golf committee to make sure they've done their due diligence and taken a deep dive and seeing, hey, is this our vision of where we want to go? Is a 10% increase going to cut it for Jordan? Is it going to cut it for meeting the budget and the needs of the city and the staff that helps with the labor and the costs associated with that, and the water bills, and it's all that stuff. But I know my 3 minutes are coming up, but I just wanted to recommend that there's a lot of good members in the men's club. I speak to them all the time. I speak to employees of the golf course. I speak to neighbors of the golf course, and I want to recommend that there should be a survey, like a Survey Monkey, maybe a 10-question thing to see how happy people are with maybe the conditions, maybe the clubhouse, maybe the staff that work there, and identify if there could be a more significant increase to make everyone happy. That would make the course better and people to enjoy the course from the community to the men's club. And I just wanted to mention that would be a grand idea in my opinion. So that's it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, item 5. Jordan, you want to comment on the first quarter golf course activity report?
Yeah, the golf course has a lot of activity.
Shocker.
Yeah,
We've established that.
yeah, we're up 1%, which is good. I mean, I didn't think we'd get any busier, so somehow we are. And I think like other golf courses are kind of, still staying busy, like more busy than what it was pre-COVID, but it looks like they're starting to dip off a little bit just from when I've talked to other superintendents and vendors and whatnot. So I'm glad to see that we're trending in the right direction. So that's basically it. The activity report. Any questions?
Interesting that the number of resident cards, which I know Mr. Adams brought up, has been pretty consistent over the last 5 years. It's kind of interesting to see, considering the point that was made. Maybe how Houston didn't used to be as hard to put the
same number of people.
Jordan, on behalf of the players, for what you do with your staff, you do a hell of a job.
Thank you.
The golf course is in great shape.
Thank you. We enjoy it.
For the amount of staff that you have, good job.
I appreciate it. We have a good core group of guys, good mechanic, spray tech, and irrigation tech, so it goes a long way. And we just hired an assistant too, so that's gonna help everything out, for sure, so. That's a good thing.
I'm surprised to see there's only 7 private carts.
No, that's for this for new cars. I asked that question earlier. It's not, there's only 7.
27.
It's just a 7 in this last quarter.
Yeah,
Added.
27.
yeah.
Added.
We-
How many?
Registered.
I don't know how many.
27 carts
But it
27?
says, it says it's here. Oh, no.
Where?
No, it doesn't, it doesn't. I wouldn't read that. No, do we know how many carts we do have?
I could look at the fourth quarter from the previous meeting.
Yeah, I usually have
You
a
can count them.
binder with me, but I remember, Dick,
Yeah.
8, 7, 8, whenever we had that big thing with private carts, we wanted to cut it off at 125.
Yeah.
So ridiculous. I don't
Do we
think.
have 40, 30 or 40?
Less than 30.
Less than 30.
Wasn't gonna be a big deal, I knew that. Does that encompass the item 5B, report from the maintenance staff, or you got something?
Yeah, I got some stuff, if
Okay.
we're ready to move on.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, our first quarter went well. Like I said, we hired an assistant at the beginning of the quarter, so we've been spending a lot of time kind of getting him acclimated, training him. You know, I kind of had a baptism of fire. After like 4 weeks, I took my paternity leave, so I got to run the crew. And he did all right. So, I'm back now. I've been back for 2 weeks, so happy to be back. And fall aeration went well. We still have some scarring, which I'm kind of surprised. We went with a deeper aeration. Usually we do, we spread it out more, but we went like fewer holes and deeper, so that's why you're still seeing some little scars. So I thought they'd be healed up by now, but for the most part, they don't really affect the ball roll too much, so I think it went well. We're also upgrading our tee boxes. I don't know if you guys have seen an improvement, but that was something I bestowed on Jeff, the new assistant, and he's done a really good job with that, so give kudos to him. We're also gonna start slowly integrating kikuyu grass, just so it's more of a monostand that kind of matches the, you know, the fairways, right? That's kikuyu. Because Bermuda grass, it's not warm enough here. We discussed that last meeting, so we started sodding, just doing some patchwork with kikuyu grass, and it's looking good. So we'll continue with that. We're also looking to construct a new ladies tee on number 12, or sorry, not ladies tee, a silver tee, forward tee on 12. It's a little unlevel, and then with that being said, we also have a tee box on 4. You seen that? It's on the other side of that stone line. Yeah, it's like right before. Yeah, it has been maintained in my time here, so if.
Yeah, it's on the left of that pine tree.
Yeah, I can't remember why it was never utilized, but we could bring that back pretty easily. To have another tee box so that we could take the silver tees off the fairways and move them back. That's something we want to do.
What about number
One hole.
That's
6?
not moving it back, that's moving it back too far, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the issue, so that's something you'll have to discuss.
I'd rather not do that.
Yeah, I agree. The distance is good.
Yeah,
It's just
Yeah.
it's just, they're just stuck in the fairway. Some of them are on a slope and.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know, it's not, they're not always easy to tee off from the.
yeah,
Like
for
number
sure.
6, I mean, it's right in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, so, you know, with the small crew, if we're gonna do this in-house, we have to just kind of tick off the worst ones. So I would say, in my opinion, 12 is the worst right now. And then, yeah, we can start looking at other ones, 6, and kind of knocking them on, like, one by one, kind of what we did with 14. We built one on 13 as well.
Yeah, 13 is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so, Yeah, just kind of, if we're gonna do it in-house, then yeah, it's something we'll just have to kind of take the worst ones and do it, you know, one or two a year, just so that we're not exhausting my crew, and it's not, you get the greens, the bunkers aren't getting neglected, so that's kind of our game plan for that, but it is something that we're addressing, for sure.
I'll pass the info.
Pardon me?
I'll pass the info.
Right on, great. We're gonna start overseeding tees next week. Probably, just the cost of seed is absolutely skyrocketed, so we're probably only gonna do the par threes and a couple of the par fours, like 1 and 10 probably, and then see how much seed we have left over, so.
What do you oversee with?
Ryegrass.
It is rye?
Yeah. So, that's coming next week, and, yeah, I'm gonna be busy kind of doing some, research, getting bids, and getting, some work done with the driving range extension on 6. So, that's gonna start this winter. It slows down a little bit, so. That's kind of where we're at.
How about a short report on Rory and Grant?
They're doing well. Rory's getting attitude. Graham's got a cough. Dad doesn't sleep much. He started a 4-month regression. He was doing great, and then he's all of a sudden just not sleeping through the night. So fun stuff. I think most of you guys remember those days.
6A, let's hear it from the Greens Committee. Passed out a report.
So, did we see the tour report we did? If any of you would like to get a copy, I have it up here. This is a tour that Ben and I are on the subcommittee. Is there any items that you would like to discuss on this report? Have you all had a chance? I sent it to everybody later this afternoon. I'm sorry, I didn't, we just did it this morning, so.
I think it's interesting to point out the fact that we talked about the tree trimming and the fact that there's been a lot more and that there was an increase in the budget there for that. So I think
Yeah,
that's really
beneficial.
instrumental. I think that was key.
It'll change from 20 to 45,000.
I mean, you pretty much doubled the tree, and we're starting to see it with the
Yeah.
trees that are being trimmed.
I mean,
Feel
it was
less-
20,000 probably in 1990. So, yeah, it was due for an increase for sure.
Yeah, so that was good that they're spending more money on the
Yeah.
tree trimming. And we're starting to see,
Yeah.
like I said, the results of that.
Samantha, we have a real problem with electric bikes, as you have it on every place in town, certainly every park. Liberty Park was ruined.
I haven't heard the end of that.
I don't know, what do
I'm on that email.
You should see Forster Ranch.
is that worse?
No, it's just yesterday, it's a little fresh, but get through it.
What's happened, is the city
I would,
responding to
so there's,
this?
yeah, there's a couple of issues. Enforcement's a big thing. The riders of the e-bikes are reckless and don't care if you say you can't be on the course. Most of our marshals have experienced that. I've experienced that personally, telling young kids they can't be on a park with their e-bikes. So there's that element. We need to likely update, it would be helpful if we codified something into the operations of the golf course through the municipal code. That then would allow an opportunity to ticket people. Right now, it's not allowed, but it's not formalized, and so that would be a goal of mine, is to bring something to this committee that would change the municipal code, and then that at least gives us an option. Again, the other element then becomes enforcement. A course marshal can't write a citation. There's a whole litany of things that somebody would have to go through to be able to write a citation. Our park rangers have started to go down that path, but it's a pretty large investment, and so not a lot of them are there yet. The only other individuals are our code compliance staff, and the golf course just hasn't been in their purview, and neither are the parks at this point. So, short of it is, I'd like to change our code. That's the step in the right direction. But then there's also some state legislation that's changing the way we can manage electric bikes on public property. So we're still waiting to see where that lands, that potentially upends some of the stuff we've done at the beach trail even. So we're reviewing that with our city attorney team and our folks in Sacramento as well.
Can a sign be made, even though we don't have any municipal code? Can we put signs up where we have code, we have signs that say no dogs allowed, but there is a code there? Can we put a sign up saying no electric bikes? It might be some.
Yeah, signs are nice, but nobody reads them. Hence you have dogs on the golf course.
They're a good place to stick surf stickers.
They sure are. But we can look at that certainly. The kids on e-bikes are reckless, and it's a major problem, unfortunately. And we can't seem to get even traction with parents. They just are oblivious to it. They just don't seem to care. So we'll continue to do our best effort to enforce it, but I do think, changing the code's a step in the right direction on these.
Has the city looked into any more cameras or anything like that? I know for a fact the Flock system, camera system, is up throughout neighborhoods and.
Flock takes license plates, it's not gonna be
I
able
know,
to
but they can adjust
catch
it to-
e-bikes.
yeah.
And e-bikes don't have licenses either. Some of the legislation that's being considered could potentially take away the authority of a local agency to require a license to operate a bike or an e-bike. So that's some of the cards that we're trying to figure out how to play the right way.
Since they're motorcycles, just going at 20 miles an hour, they're still a motorized vehicle.
Sure.
It should be operated as such. That's really the ultimate.
Yeah, our Orange County Sheriff's, our police team has really trying to take a strong approach to informing parents, because that's who's the one that they're paying the $3,000 for the bike for their child. We're seeing a little bit of an uptick in what parents think is an e-bike, but it's not. It doesn't have pedals. They are absolutely electric, motorbikes, if you will. And that is doing a lot of damage to our turfs, because we assume a child is telling their parents, it's an e-bike, I can absolutely be on this, and they're just none the wiser. So we're also, my staff is working with some of the e-bike retailers in town to try to figure out the best approach to education. If a family enters an e-bike shop, they're likely from San Clemente, so we want that retailer to support the city's efforts, and they're not allowed on the golf course, don't take them to the parks, don't ride recklessly, wear your helmet. We're trying to get our local businesses to support that effort as well.
I think the school district can try to do something with that.
Yeah, we've had, Vista Del Mar has seen some pretty good success with managing e-bikes on their campus, but it was absolutely a tireless effort on behalf of some members of their PTA and school administration, so.
We took care of, I was a proud owner of Sea-Doo. They got that with enough regulations to choke a horse, so I had to sell the customers. But the bottom line is, will you license it? That's the only way, technically, they can't skirt it. You say, okay, that's a motorbike, but it's motorized. So you have to apply for a permit or a license. You're on registration, so they pull you over. Okay, well, there it is. That's your bike, you're responsible, bada boom. You pay for the damage, you pay for whatever. And that way you get, the revenue there says, hey, pay for a license for that silly bike. Now it's a different story. Licenses, they're free, I can take them, see anybody take them anywhere. I've seen them on the sidewalks running people over. They're really a hazard, major hazard. Really are.
Dick,
Yeah, so, did you have any other questions? Yeah?
How about the House Subcommittee? Any reports there?
Randy has it.
Well, I don't think we have another report, we just got a little bit of, I think you might
Sure.
have some information, but I was just gonna say that, just today I was checking and there's still no cook in the mornings, no chef in the mornings, the staff are still understaffed, and the staff would like to have golf specials, but they're not running any golf specials, so it's nothing that's greatly improving really with the service to the golfers.
Out of sight, out of mind. There, they wanna do everything for us, we go out and take care of it.
Let me follow up.
All right.
I have a question about Wedgewood. Would now's the time to do it, or bring it up in my own items?
Sure.
At this point in time, we're free
We're
for all
close,
anyways.
see?
It's coming up now anyway.
Yeah, go ahead, okay, I'll wait.
I'll look to the chair. You
I'll
can
wait,
answer the
I'll wait.
question.
Go ahead.
Are we doing community
Waiting's
input?
over, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, there you
Uh,
go.
So I have a question, and this might be some financial information that I haven't seen through. The Wedgewood generated revenue, where does that end up? Does it end up in the golf course fund? Does it go back to the city? Because I know the course is paying, right, for the debt on the building. But the funds and the money that comes out of hosting events there and the little bit of money that Wedgewood makes, you know, from the golfers and not providing the services that we were just talking about, just, does that get siphoned back into the golf fund? Or
Absolutely.
I've never understood
It does not
that.
end up in the general fund.
Okay.
It goes back to the course, and it's total, you know, bottom line as it brings in money.
Yeah,
And then from there, it's dispersed out to reimburse the clubhouse debt,
okay.
the depreciation fund, those items. It gets redispersed.
See, during COVID, it was shut down,
Correct.
2 years basically.
It's still COVID then.
And now it's back
Still
up
shut
and running
down.
again.
Still shut down to us.
What's
It's
that?
still COVID. It's still shut down to us. We don't get to use it.
Well, the biggest thing now is the West is putting on a heck of a lot of weddings. And it's private
Whose turn
events.
is it right now?
So it is hard to get in there.
Okay, Nick?
What's that?
Nick, you got anything you want to bring up?
Items from members?
Yes.
Sand, where's the sand?
We're working on
It
it.
was like concrete.
Yeah.
Question on the private carts, the tires. Is there a specific, I mean, 'cause I used to see some knobby tires out there.
Off-road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is specific,
Big-
and that's on the pro shop to manage assessing the carts once they give that kind of use, the permission to use their private
And I don't
cart.
think they come out and inspect, I think you just show the registration, show the insurance, they give you a sticker.
That's
he
not
They
goes
don't go
out.
out and inspect.
Well,
We discussed this
we
last.
we discussed this last meeting, and I think, Jordan, you were going to work with the pro shop on what the criteria was, what types of tires are a problem, what should they be looking for, because they do check.
He did put a policy, he
Yeah.
did do some research and write a policy and send it out to us for review. I think we agreed it looked good.
Yeah, we reviewed it, but we haven't really set it in motion.
Put it in motion, yeah.
We'll bring it to the next committee
I'll have to
meeting then.
review it.
For
Just something
approval.
simple, like a half inch, like no more than a half inch deep, like just something simple, you can just have a ruler.
It probably needs to go into your operating resolution. So we can bring that to the next meeting.
Yeah, 'cause there's a big ugly tires out there. That's
Yeah,
it.
those off-road tires won't make it. It's consuming your house.
You have to aerate the fairways because they do that. too.
You got anything, Nate? Nick?
Yeah, I have a question on the finances, kind of a segue from what somebody else in the public brought up. I got the financials you gave me for fiscal 21, 22. And really, it's created more questions for me, and I was wondering how to reconcile this. Do you want me to meet with the person in charge, the auditor or whatever, the person in charge of the finance for the golf course? But you gave me a P&L, but I didn't get a balance sheet, so I don't know where this.
I can get that for you.
I need a balance sheet.
Okay.
One of the other things, I also have the revenue from the Wedgewood, what percentage of that? The, compared to the 2018, 2019, the last pre-COVID year, annual revenues are up 733,000. If you remember at the last meeting, I asked you, we should have tons of money to do stuff, and you said that we don't, quote unquote. So, I really haven't seen any significant capital improvement gains with the $700,000. Revenues associated with little variable costs such as member cards, private card fees, range revenues, green fees are significantly up in that period. Total runs are only up a little bit, but we have more income. Now we're gonna get another 10% increase. So 10% on 80,000 rounds is roughly how much? Another $200,000 we should be getting if we implement this as of January 1st. So for 6 months of the 22-23, should have an extra $100,000. And here we are, if you look at my report, we're putting together our mowers with Band-Aids and duct tape. There's something wrong. And I'd like to spend some time, and I was wondering if anybody in the other committee, there was a subcommittee for financial aspects of the golf course. So I don't care if it's me or it's me and somebody else. Any of you guys have any interest in financial aspects of the golf course? Would you be interested in meet with somebody so that we can ask pertinent questions and get some answers? I think it's really important for us because the rest of the committee would like to know, I'm sure, wouldn't you?
Not just
So-
the committee, the community is, and asking a lot of questions too, so I
So
definitely.
I'd rather not wait another quarter to meet and talk about it. Can you
I can say,
set that
so
up?
this, I need a motion and a second to form a golf course finance subcommittee to review the finances.
I'll make
Ben,
that
are you
motion.
up for that?
I'm sorry?
Ben, are you up for it?
I'm making that motion right now. I make a motion that we set up a subcommittee, financial review subcommittee of the golf course committee to review the financials of the golf course. And
Okay, so that's the motion, and then we'll do members at an
I
end.
I need a second.
Nick seconded. I'm asking Ben, are you willing to go with Dick? Because we can only have two.
So that's the next motion, yeah. Now we need a motion and a second on the selecting committee members.
We'll
Wait,
see if he's-
did we have a vote?
Unless somebody else really.
Would you
Well,
like
I-
would you like to
I'd
do
like-
it?
Motion,
If you are
Hasley,
going,
second.
I would, but if you're going, I'm happy.
Oh, is that a unanimous on the
Oh.
subcommittee?
Aye.
5-0.
Yes,
Yes, aye.
Now member selection.
I make a motion that Ben and Dick be appointed to the finance committee, subcommittee.
I second.
Be second. Aye.
All those
All in favor?
Aye.
Let me work with you guys to get something set up for
That'd be
probably,
great. And then we'll have a report for you at the next meeting,
yes.
which is November, December, January, February, the first February, Thursday in February.
Mhm.
At the new digs. And that, my only input would be a deflection board on 17, but not in my lifetime.
That's not happening.
That one's stuck on your list every time.
I just bring it up. Entertaining a motion to adjourn.
Remember John Knox?
Yeah,
He was on the champion, it's carpet.
yeah.
That's your legacy.
Anybody want to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.